Okay, let's unpack this. You know that feeling.
Hmm.
The one where you get that text or the news alert pops up, or maybe you just glance at your calendar and your stomach just clenches.
Oh, yeah.
It's a feeling of, oh no, something is happening, or like something bad might be happening.
Or it's already here.
Yeah.
That surge of anxiety, the mind racing, or maybe just shutting down completely.
Right. It's just, well, deeply human when things go wrong, or even just feel like they might.
Absolutely.
And the source material we're diving into today, it takes that feeling and tackles it, well, very directly, maybe even bluntly.
Yes. We're pulling from excerpts of Calm the Fuck Down by Sarah Knight. It definitely doesn't pull any punches.
No kidding. The language, the tone, it's pretty provocative, right? But it feels deliberate.
Totally deliberate. It's trying to cut through all the emotional noise, get straight to practical strategies.
Yeah. So our mission here in this deep dive is really to look past that, maybe that attention-grabbing title, and just pull out the core framework, the system the author presents for navigating worry, anxiety, life's, well, inevitable challenges.
Think of it like a guide, maybe, to processing all the information overload about your own life's stressors.
Exactly. A shortcut to this specific method.
And acknowledging that tone up front is key, I think, because it signals the kind of no-nonsense, action-oriented advice in the book. It's really less about just validating feelings.
Right.
And much more about changing how you respond to them.
Okay, so let's jump in. The core problem the book identifies, how we react when things go wrong, and what that actually, costs us.
Yeah, the author points out our common reactions, often immediate, but ultimately pretty unproductive.
Like what specifically?
Well, facing a problem, big or small, you might just freeze up. Or, the tears start flowing.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it's pure rage shouting, maybe breaking stuff. And then there's the one she calls ostriching.
Ostriching. Okay, I think I get the gist, but tell me more. How does the book define that?
It's basically pretending things aren't happening. Or, that they're not as bad as they are. Sticking your head in the sand.
Or maybe under a pillow.
Exactly. As still very much exposed to the problem, as she puts it. It feels like avoidance, like you're saving yourself from dealing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I get that. Like having a good cry or just completely shutting down, ignoring emails. In that moment, it can feel like a relief, right? Like a break from the stress.
And that's the trap. The book really highlights this. While those reactions might offer some, temporary comfort or release,
Yeah.
they're fundamentally unproductive. They don't actually move you closer to solving anything.
In fact, they probably make it harder.
Definitely harder. Trying to make clear decisions when you're mid-meltdown or actively ignoring the issue, it just doesn't work.
So this leads to the concept of freak-out funds, FFs, right? Explain that. What are these funds and how does freaking out drain them?
So FFs are your valuable resources, the things that get depleted when you react unproductively. The book identifies 4 key ones.
Okay.
Time, energy, money, and goodwill.
All right, time and energy, those seem pretty intuitive. If you avoid a problem, you're wasting time. You could be solving it.
Right.
And it takes energy to keep avoiding it. But money, how does freaking out drain your money?
Well, think about those moments of, say, rage. You throw your phone, crack the screen, or punch a hole in the wall. Those immediate bursts, they can lead to direct costs.
Yeah.
Bills for repair, replacement.
Ah, okay. Costs you wouldn't have otherwise.
Exactly. Or think about stress shopping.
Guilty.
Right. You might feel a little lift hitting the J.Crew clearance rack, as the author says, but that money didn't actually fix the root cause of your stress. It didn't hire the LSAT tutor or fix the leaky faucet.
Gotcha. So it's either direct damage costs or like misdirected spending that doesn't solve the real issue.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And time and energy, is ostriching really that draining? Feels like doing nothing.
But you're not really doing nothing. You're actively putting effort into avoiding the problem. That takes mental energy. And like you said, avoiding wastes that precious non-renewable time you could be using for solutions. It just burns right through it.
Okay. Money, time, energy. And the last one was goodwill. That feels a bit different.
It is different. Goodwill isn't really your internal fund. It's the FF account held by other people.
Ah, like their willingness to help.
Exactly. Their willingness to listen, sympathize, help you out when you genuinely need it. And it's funded by all the times you haven't been in constant crisis mode.
I think I see where this is going. Is this the Sherry example from the book? The person who's always got drama?
Precisely that example. The book shows how constantly being in crisis mode, always freaking out about something, it just
Yeah.
It erodes that goodwill over time.
People tune you out.
Yeah, they start shutting the door, metaphorically speaking, like they would on a pushy salesperson. Your friends, your family, coworkers, they become less sympathetic, less willing to offer support.
So if you're always overdrawing that goodwill account with, unproductive freakouts, what happens when a real crisis hits?
Well, the book uses that classic analogy, right? The boy who cried wolf. Or shark in this version.
Right.
If you're always raising the alarm, people eventually stop listening. Or they stop caring. So when the actual shark shows up, you've spent all your goodwill.
Wow. That's, harsh, but a really powerful point. So the first step isn't even solving the problem necessarily. It's recognizing how our reaction is a problem in itself.
Exactly, how it's costing us these vital resources.
You have to stop the bleeding, so to speak. Stop draining those FFs before you can even think clearly about the actual situation.
Good decisions rarely come from a place of panic or, avoidance.
Okay, so I'm feeling overwhelmed, maybe just kind of blah and bletch, as the book says. How do I figure out what the actual problem is? Where do I even start?
The advice is really to identify the specific worry. You have to name it. And it uses this memorable analogy. Everything is a tarantula.
A tarantula? That sounds deeply unpleasant.
It is. And that's the point. That feeling of just general anxiety, being blah and blush for maybe no reason, it feels like invisible tarantulas crawling everywhere.
Yeah, that formless dread.
Exactly. But the book argues, pretty forcefully, that there is usually a reason, there's a specific what-if behind that feeling.
So that cloud of anxiety isn't actually just a cloud, it has a source.
According to this method, yes. When everything feels overwhelming and you can't pin it down, it's like those hidden tarantulas. Hard to deal with because you don't know where they are or what they are.
So the key is, shine a light on it.
Yes. Identify the specific thing that's bothering you. Name the tarantula.
So instead of just, everything is terrible, force yourself to ask, okay, what specifically feels terrible right now?
Precisely. Is the tarantula my book is due? Or maybe the roof is leaking?
I have a new boss.
Could be. Or one of those what-ifs she lists.
Yeah.
What if I get my period on my first date? What if my connecting flight's landing gear doesn't work?
Or, my personal favorite, what if Gary isn't the royal baby name?
Huh. Yes. Gary, the 4,000-pound shame. The point is, that dread, that worry, it's usually tied to a specific potential event, right?
Okay.
And anything with a name, anything with a form, is better than some hidden amorphous tarantula. Once you name the specific worry, you've made it concrete. You can actually see it.
And if you can see it,
You can start to assess it, deal with it.
naming the tarantula, I like that visual. It takes this abstract fear and makes it feel like something you can actually, interact with.
Okay.
Okay, so I've named the potential shitstorm. What's next?
Then the book introduces a system, a way to classify these what-ifs, these things that haven't actually happened yet. It uses a scale, kind of like hurricane categories.
Right, the Cat 1 to 5 system, based on likelihood.
Correct. You basically assess how likely this potential event is actually to happen.
So Cat 1 is?
Highly unlikely. The palm tree outside probably isn't going to fall on your roof. Finding more tarantulas after you've dealt with one, probably unlikely. Your editor suddenly hating a chapter they already approved?
Right.
Unlikely.
Okay. Then Cat 2 is possible, but not likely. Cat 3 is likely.
Cat 4, highly likely. And Cat 5,
Inevitable.
like death, taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Or your wife being 9.2 months pregnant, as the book puts it.
Got it. So that's a likelihood piece, but there's another layer too, right? Status. Something about urgency.
Yes, exactly.
Mhm.
Status. Is this potential shitstorm outlying, imminent, or total? This tells you not just the probability, but how close it is to hitting, assuming it does happen.
Can you give me an example? How do likelihood and status work together?
Sure. Let's say you're worrying about your car breaking down. If it's like a new car, really reliable, and you're just generally anxious,
Okay.
that's probably a Cat 1, highly unlikely. And the status is outlying. There's no immediate threat.
But what if that same reliable car just started making a horrible grinding noise?
Okay, now the likelihood of a major breakdown right this second might still be lowish, maybe still Cat 1 or 2, unlikely for a total failure now. But the status has definitely changed. It's suddenly feeling imminent.
Or maybe even total if it just died on the highway.
Exactly. The urgency shoots up, even if the overall probability for that type of car breaking down is generally low.
Or the example about making a mistake at work.
Right. If your boss is away on vacation for 2 weeks, the likelihood she'll be mad when she finds out might be, say, Cat 3, likely, but the status is definitely outlying.
You don't need to freak out about it this second.
No need to spend your FF stressing right now. Plenty of time for that later.
So. But if your wife is 9.2 months pregnant?
That potential event is a Cat 5 inevitable and profoundly imminent.
Okay. And if the car does break down and your wife goes into labor simultaneously?
Well, the system helps you see which one is the tick. Total status emergency needing immediate attention. As the book dryly notes, it doesn't take a genius to triage that specific situation. Margaret's comfort comes first.
Right. Okay, so name the worry, classify its likelihood and urgency, and then we get to what feels like the absolute core question of this whole method.
One question, yeah. Can I control it?
This seems simple, like a yes-no. But the book really digs into the nuance, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not always just yes or no. Control exists on a spectrum. You might have complete control, or you might only be able to heavily influence the outcome. Or sometimes you have absolutely no control at all.
Okay, let's break that down. Examples. What's something you have complete control over?
Well, whether or not you tell your best friend what you really think of her new bangs.
Ooh, dangerous territory.
Totally controlled by you.
Ooh.
Or, as the book bluntly puts it, shouting the wrong name in bed. You have complete control over whether that happens. Get it together, Andy.
Huh. Okay. Complete control. What about just heavily influencing something?
The example given is worrying about waiting too long to have kids. You can't actually control getting pregnant, right? There are biological factors.
Right.
But you can absolutely heavily influence it by deciding to start trying now, maybe seeing doctors, taking care of your health.
Yeah.
Your actions significantly impact the probability, but don't guarantee the outcome.
Makes sense. And then the things you have absolutely zero control over.
Like a union dispute, canceling that monster truck rally you were so excited about.
You're dating.
Or being suddenly laid off because of corporate cutbacks that had nothing to do with your performance. That's the kind of thing the author herself experienced and writes about worrying about losing her job due to factors totally outside her control.
So figuring out where your worry sits on that control spectrum, complete influence or none, that's the crucial next step.
It really is, because the answer to can I control it dictates which path you take next in this whole method.
Okay, let's follow path 1. The answer is no. You have zero control over the outcome. The book says this is where you focus on letting go, which, let's be honest, is hard.
Notoriously hard. Especially if the potential outcome is really significant and negative, like that job loss example. The book definitely doesn't pretend this is easy.
So what strategies does the method offer? How do you actually let go of worries you can't control?
Well, the foundation is acceptance. Really internalizing and accepting the reality that this particular thing is outside your sphere of influence.
Easier said than done.
Oh, for sure. Then there's the active step of redirection, summed up by the command, Focus, Jim.
Focus, Jim.
It means deliberately redirecting your attention, your energy, away from that uncontrollable worry cycle. Find something else to focus on.
So not just hoping the worry disappears, but actively steering your focus elsewhere.
Exactly. Productive redirection. And another key strategy, especially for those, 3 a.m. anxiety spirals.
Oh, I know those well.
Is the tonight you, tomorrow you concept.
Yes. This one really clicked for me. Explain the Ruth scenario.
Okay, so you're lying awake, it's 3 a.m., and you're agonizing over some random offhand comment you made to your coworker Ruth on Tuesday.
Been there.
You're totally convinced she hated it. She thinks you're an idiot, even though she gave zero indication at the time.
Yeah.
Tonight you is completely consumed by this worry.
Yep. Sounds familiar.
Right, but tonight, you cannot call Ruth at 3 a.m. to clarify or apologize.
Yeah.
That would just create a whole new awkward problem.
Definitely not.
What tonight you can control, what tonight you can do, is focus on getting some sleep. And sleeping isn't passive here. It's framed as an action. Tonight you's job is to prioritize sleep.
So that tomorrow you is rested.
Exactly. So tomorrow you is rested, clear-headed, and actually capable of handling the Ruth situation effectively. Whether that means deciding, it wasn't a big deal, or actually having a quick, calm chat with Ruth the next day.
That's actually really powerful. It reframes sleeping not as giving up, but as the productive, controllable action you can take right now.
Puts you back in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
Like the analogy of ordering a glass of water between alcoholic drinks, you're choosing the productive thing yourself, not feeling forced.
Okay, so acceptance, active redirection, focus, Jim. Tonight you, tomorrow you. What if the worry is just really sticky, something you can't seem to stop thinking about, even though you know you can't control the outcome?
That's where the book introduces PHW.
PEW, like sigh of relief.
Maybe. It stands for productive, helpful, effective worrying. The idea is if you absolutely cannot make the worry disappear, then you channel that nervous energy into productive action that's related to the worry, even if that action doesn't guarantee the outcome you want.
Okay, give me an example of PHUW for something uncontrollable.
Okay, parenting. You worry about your kids turning out okay, right?
Thank God.
Good people.
Constantly.
Can you completely control that outcome? No. Ultimately, their choices become their own. But you can channel that worry energy into PHUW.
Like what?
Like reading to them every night, telling them you love them often, teaching them manners, being present and engaged. Those actions don't guarantee they won't turn into little jerks.
Hopefully not.
But they are productive, they are helpful, they are effective actions related to your underlying worry about their well-being.
I see. So you're converting that passive, draining worry into active, beneficial behavior. You're doing something constructive with the energy.
Exactly. Or take worrying about climate change making the world uninhabitable, a huge, scary worry. You personally cannot control the global outcome single-handedly. But you can channel that worry into PHUW. Voting for policies you believe align with solutions, reducing your own carbon footprint, supporting organizations working on it, maybe even making long-term plans for potential future moves.
Okay, so if you can't control it, accept, let go if possible. If not, use PHUW to channel the worry into related productive actions. Got it. Now, what about the other path? If the answer to can I control it or can I heavily influence it is yes.
Well, when you can control it, the path is much clearer. The book's message is pretty straightforward. Deal with it.
Just deal with it.
Yep. Convert that what if into a now what. Take action. And PHW can apply here too, right? As proactive action to prevent or mitigate a problem you can influence.
Okay, like the example of worrying your wife won't like her anniversary gift?
That's something you can definitely influence. So take action. Ask her best friend for ideas. Browse stores you know she likes. As the author cheekily notes, diamonds are often a reliable option here.
Diamonds. Noted. What about worrying about getting seasick on a boat trip?
Totally influenceable. Take Dramamine before you go. That's direct action to prevent the potential shitstorm you're worrying about. Simple PHUW.
Makes sense. The book also includes a warning here, though, about stirring the shit. What's that about?
It's basically a caution against catastrophizing. Getting so worked up that your reaction actually creates a problem that wasn't there before or makes a small problem much worse.
Creating your own catastrophe, making things worse by how you handle it.
Exactly. The example used is needing an extension on an assignment. The straightforward deal with it approach. Just email your professor politely and ask.
Simple enough.
Stirring the shit would be concocting some elaborate lie about a dead grandmother or a sudden debilitating illness because you're too anxious to just ask.
Yeah.
Your attempt to avoid the minor issue creates a much bigger potential problem, like getting caught in a lie.
Right. Don't make it worse. So, if you can control or influence it, take action, deal with it, prevent it, but do it realistically and directly. Don't stir the shit.
That pretty much covers worries about things that haven't happened yet. But the method is just as useful when, well, the shit has already hit the fan. The storm is here.
The same core principles apply. Acknowledge, accept.
And address. Exactly. When you're actually in the middle of a problem, you need tools for addressing it effectively. The book introduces two key ones here. The realistic ideal outcome, or RIO.
RIO,
Okay.
triage.
RIO sounds like managing expectations, focusing on what's actually possible now.
That's precisely it. It's the opposite of chasing some impossible full fix or wishing things were just different. When something bad happens, you don't waste energy on if only. You define the best possible outcome given the current reality.
So you might not get the perfect result you wanted before the problem hit?
Probably not. But running towards a realistic goal, even if it's suboptimal, is way better than sprinting down a dead-end street wishing things were different.
Okay, RIO, realistic goal setting in the moment, and triage, like in an ER. Exactly like an ER nurse prioritizing patients.
Yeah.
You apply that same logic to your own problems, especially when multiple things go wrong at once, or even just one big complicated issue.
How does that work?
You prioritize based on agency and potential impact. Which parts of this problem need attention right now because they'll get worse if ignored? Which parts can wait? Which parts can actually be solved versus just managed?
Okay, let's use the example from the book. Your flight gets canceled right before a friend's big birthday party far from home. How do RIO and triage apply?
All right, step one, acknowledge and accept. The flight is canceled. You are not getting on that plane. Denial won't help.
Okay, acceptance. Then?
Then, Take stock. What time is it actually? When does the party start?
Yeah.
What are the real alternatives? Other flights, trains, driving, how much would they cost? How long would they take?
Got it. Assess the reality. Based on that, you define the RIO.
Yes. Given the actual time, the available options, the cost,
Hmm.
what's the realistic ideal outcome now? Could you still maybe get there in time for dinner?
Or maybe just for dessert and dancing.
Or maybe the realistic outcome is accepting you'll miss the party entirely and figuring how to apologize gracefully. You pick the best achievable goal and focus your energy on that.
And triage in that situation.
Well, let's say while figuring this out, your phone battery is also dying. You need to call a taxi to get home from the airport eventually, and you need to book an alternative flight if that's your RIO.
Okay, multiple things need doing.
Right, so you triage. What's most urgent right now? Maybe finding a place to charge your phone so you can actually make calls and book things. Then maybe figuring out how you'll get home from the airport later. Booking the alternative travel might come next, or you might do it while the phone charges. You prioritize the immediate necessities.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
The book also really stresses flexibility when dealing with shit that's already happened.
Huge emphasis on flexibility. And it's not about, physical contortions. It's about mental adaptability.
How so?
The author uses this great analogy of thinking like a cat. Her cat finds its usual dinner spot blocked one day. Does it panic? Does it complain?
Probably not.
Nope. It just calmly finds another spot, lies down, and waits patiently. It adapts to the changed circumstances without drama.
So if the rules suddenly change or things don't go according to plan, you don't get stuck arguing about why it happened or whose fault it is.
Exactly. You just adapt, regroup, reimagine your plan based on the new reality, and then reattack the problem from that new position.
Okay. The book gives some relatable examples of needing flexibility, right? Like bad news.
Yeah, several. Like your girlfriend tells you you're bad in bed. Ouch. That's bad news.
Definitely.
So you acknowledge the hurt, take stock of the situation. Your RIO is probably pretty binary, right? Either you decide to break up or you decide to accept the feedback and work on improving your technique. Flexibility is choosing one path and running with it, not getting stuck in the why me or denial.
Or breaking a bone.
Yep. Acknowledge the injury, get medical treatment. Then take stock of the consequences. How long is recovery? What can't you do? Flexibility means adjusting your plans. The author's husband broke his collarbone, so their dinner RIO temporarily became egos because complex cooking wasn't feasible. You adapt.
Even for things like unpleasant health news, like finding out you have gluten intolerance.
Same process. Acknowledge, accept. Dealing with it involves planning ahead, like packing your own snacks when traveling, and it requires in-the-moment flexibility using take stock, RIO, and triage when you're at a restaurant trying to figure out what you can safely eat.
And this applies even to those big external events, things totally out of our control, like a French butter shortage, or reading some scary article about the world ending.
You still apply the method. Acknowledge the information. Accept what you truly cannot control. Then, for anything you can control or influence, apply PHUW. Maybe stock up on butter if that's your worry, and you can control your supply. For the huge global issues, like that scary article again, accept what you can't personally fix single-handedly. Then channel any persistent worry into PHUW voting, reducing your footprint, supporting relevant causes, making long-term plans if necessary. Focus on your sphere of influence.
It seems this pragmatic approach even helps frame really difficult emotional experiences, like losing a loved one.
It does. The book acknowledges the intense emotions, the sadness, the rage, but it points out that acceptance is ultimately a recognized stage of grief. This method offers a framework, a pragmatic way to navigate the practicalities and the emotional processing during those incredibly dark moments by focusing on what can be addressed, what needs to be done, and what must simply be accepted, step by step.
Wow, okay. To really bring all this together, the book uses that choose-your-own-adventure style case study about losing your luggage far from home. That really highlights the difference between reacting badly and applying this method.
Oh, it's brilliant. It vividly illustrates how panic or sadness and wallowing or anger or just avoidance, how they don't just fail to solve the problem.
They make it worse.
They actively make things worse, and they drain those FF like crazy.
Yeah, like the panic scenario. You're hyperventilating, can't even explain clearly to the airline agent why you desperately need those custom Spock ears for your performance tonight.
Yeah.
You complain on Slack, maybe lose your MC spot because someone else jumps in, and you drain your phone battery doing it. Now you've added find a charger to your list of problems.
Exactly. or wallowing.
Yeah.
You're just fixated on that irreplaceable Jade Jamio sex toy that was a gift in the lost bag.
Oh.
Feeling too depressed to even try finding alternatives for clothes or toiletries. You just want to lie down. You run down your phone battery posting vague, sad memes about your lost favorite jammies. You might miss the window to replace essential items because you're stuck in the feeling.
And anger. That seems like maybe the most damaging reaction in that luggage scenario.
Oh, it's incredibly counterproductive.
Oh.
Yelling at the staff, making rude gestures. The book mentions her husband's experience with Mexican airport syndrome. Getting so angry, his reaction nearly got him detained.
Yeah.
Rage just tanks your judgment. And the little detail of rage eating a Big Mac and getting mustard on your only clean shirt, perfect illustration of how anger just adds insult to injury, creates more small problems.
And avoidance. Just pretending the bag isn't lost.
It still eats up FFs because you're actively pretending, and it says absolutely nothing to get your bag back or get you what you need. The book mentions some milder forms like setting alarms to deal with it later, get alarmed, or bargaining with yourself. Propose a trade. I'll deal with this if I can avoid that.
Okay.
But ultimately, avoidance doesn't make the shitstorm disappear. It doesn't stop skin cancer developing if you avoid the doctor, or bankruptcy if you ignore the bills, or the hurricane if you don't prepare.
Right. So contrast all those bad reactions with the productive approaches when you lose your luggage.
Okay, first step, always. Calm down somehow. The book suggests maybe working it out physically, like walking fast on the airport people movers. It takes focus, redirects energy away from panic or rage.
Or plotting revenge constructively. That sounds fun.
It's about acknowledging the anger, but channeling it into harmless, maybe even absurd, private fantasies. Things that give you emotional space without actually harming anyone.
Like what?
Like imagining writing your enemy's phone number on bathroom walls, or ordering them obnoxious wake-up calls, or mailing them glitter bombs. The author tells a story about being furious at her cat for accidentally breaking your hand.
Ouch.
And imagining elaborate revenge, like dousing the cat in coconut oil for ALS Ice Bucket Challenge parody. But just fantasizing about it helped her release the aggression, realize it wasn't the cat's fault, and let it go without actually, oiling the cat.
Okay, harmless fantasy venting. Got it. And then finally, the core recommended path. Just dealing with it by applying the actual method.
Exactly. Once you're calm, or calmer, take shock. Assess the reality. No bag, need clothes, toiletries, funds dying.
Okay, reality check.
Then determine your RIO. Realistic ideal outcome. Is it getting the bag back eventually? Is it just replacing essentials immediately? Managing with the absolute minimum, what's achievable?
Right, and then triage.
Yep. Prioritize the urgent needs. Maybe charging the phone comes first so you can contact people or look things up. Then finding immediate necessities. Toothbrush, maybe clean underwear, basic clothes.
And be flexible.
Crucial. Maybe the airport shops are closed, but the rental car counter shop has basic toiletries. Maybe you call your wife, ask her jacket size so you can buy something warm that actually fits while you wait for your bag. You adapt.
That case study really pulls it all together. It shows how even in a super frustrating situation like lost luggage, applying these steps, calm down, take stock, RIO, triage, flexibility sets you up for the best possible outcome, way better than just reacting emotionally.
Yeah, it makes the whole method really tangible.
Okay, so let's bring this deep dive to a close. We started by talking about that universal feeling, right? That dread, that overwhelm when shit happens. And the book, Calm the Fuck Down, offers this, well, bracingly pragmatic, sometimes maybe brutally blunt framework for handling it.
The core problem it identifies isn't the shit itself, but our unproductive emotional reactions, freezing, wallowing, raging, ostriching, and how they drain our vital freak-out funds.
Time, energy, money, and especially that critical one, goodwill.
Right. The solution starts with identifying the specific worry. You got to name the tarantula hiding behind that vague anxiety.
Then, for potential problems, things that haven't happened yet, you classify them. Likelihood, Cat 1 to 5, and urgency, outlying, imminent, total.
And that leads to the absolute pivot point, the key question. Can I control it or heavily influence it?
If the answer is no, the focus shifts to acceptance, letting go, maybe using strategies like tonight you, tomorrow you for those late-night worries.
Or channeling that persistent nagging anxiety into P-issue, productive, helpful, effective worrying. Doing something constructive related to the worry.
And if the answer is yes, if you can control or influence it,
then the path is clear. Deal with it. Take action. Prevent it or address it directly. Just be mindful not to stir the shit and make things worse through catastrophizing.
And when the shit has already happened, when the storm is here,
Same core idea. Acknowledge, accept, address. Use the tools. Define a realistic ideal outcome, RIO. Triage your actions based on urgency. And critically, practice flexibility, think like that cat. Adapt to the new reality.
The author also points out how useful these techniques are for dealing with that feeling of being overwhelmed by big external events we can't control, whether it's, a temporary butter shortage or something much heavier like seeing a news chyron screaming, "This shit is bananas," about the state of the world. You still ask, can I control this specific thing, except what you can't? PHUW, what you can.
It really reinforces that idea, doesn't it? That while your emotions are real, they're valid, like little puppies needing attention. As she says, the goal isn't necessarily to eliminate them.
No, it's more about learning to manage your response to them, focusing your precious energy, your FS, on what you can actually influence or control.
And ultimately, this whole pragmatic approach, maybe brutally pragmatic as some might see it, it's not really about being emotionless, is it? Not at all. It's about giving yourself a clear path forward when things feel chaotic or overwhelming. It's a practical way to accept the reality of where you are, and then apply concrete tools to figure out how to get to where you want or need to be, even when you're facing really dark moments.
Finding a way through, building on that idea of acceptance, the book offers this final thought, kind of summing up the journey of using these strategies.
Yeah.
It says, and by now you know a little something about finding your way.
Finding your way through the shitstorm.
One pragmatic step at a time. That's our deep dive for today.